Shalom, 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 shalom. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? Shalom. Greetings to you all. Shalom. Hope everybody's doing well. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Grace, peace, and many blessings to everybody. Shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. What's going on? Just want to get into, kind of want to talk about something really quick. Well, not really quick, but I want to kind of deal with something regarding some latest developments of dealing with the New Jersey shooting. And so I want to get in that. I've been kind of doing some research on the low. I've been kind of chilling and have fallen back from like social media. This is the BOOM events group. So I'm kind of doing a live from within this group, dealing with this. But my main page is deactivated. I'm not really doing too much from Facebook. The page, the BOOMCHURCH page, is kind of being handled by our administrator and things like that. And so every now and then, when there's something very important that needs to be talked about, needs to be addressed, I'll pop in and kind of deal with some things to edify the body. But I've been doing, it's been truly a blessing. Many of you have been contacting, talking to me through Messenger. So Messenger has been cool. Being able to, have conversation within Messenger. But other than that, man, it's been so refreshing and so relieved to not be able to have to stroll up the timeline and see all kind of foolishness that is going on within our community and within the Christian community and all that. So it's just been such a relief not being online, being able to just look at all the stuff that's going on up and down the timeline. And so I want to kind of talk about and deal with this conversation about things that have gone on with this New Jersey shooting with Hebrew Israelites. It's very important that I address this because there's a lot of people within the Christian community that are trying to lump all of the Israelites together, and there's an agenda behind it. And so I want to look at some things, and I want to show you some things dealing with this. Again, there's something that to not be discouraged about, but I want to show you some things that is very important to know when dealing with this whole thing about this shooting and all this other stuff and what's going forward with people and their agendas. And again, it's not all of the Christian church, but there are always sects within the church, within Christendom, that is always trying to push a certain agenda. And so it's important these things when dealing with this shooting. In every religion or every people group, there are always some radicals. And so people can never kill the experience. And so the experience that you have, people can never take that away. So I want to look at something real quick, and I want to get it from an unbiased approach. It's always good to look at things and hear people's perspective from an unbiased approach. And it's always good to give it from the other side, one who is not of the same nationality as you, to give their perspective, because oftentimes it comes with an unbiased perspective, especially someone who's not religious or who doesn't fall under the category of any form of religion, whether it be Christian, whether it be Israelite. It's always to hear perspectives from all ranges of people, especially when it comes down to dealing with certain situations like we're in now, when it comes down to dealing with this stuff. So there are a group of people out there that are always, that's going to be always out to get those who identify as Israel. And rightfully so. There are some situations and some things that should be addressed within our community. But I also feel as though that's something that we should address as well as the body of Christ in itself. When there's right is right, when there's wrong is wrong. But when those who have agendas, they're not going to deal with truth. They're going to deal with their perspective because they're pushing a narrative. So let's look at something real quick. All right, I want to get into some information here by video. All right, and I want to show y'all something that I think that is very well that needs to be looked at, and it's from a brother who's white. He's not a Israelite, and so listen to his perspective about what's going on. The title of his video is called "First They Came for the Black Hebrew Israelites," which means that he's talking about if they came for the Israelites, then that mean they're coming for someone else as well. So let's look at this and let's listen to hear what he has to say. I'm going to do some commentating, and then I'm going to go into some other things with another video, and then I'm going to get some information and show you some things regarding these situations and what's going on. So it's important to look at this. All right, now let's look at and see what his perspectives is when it comes down to dealing with. Now, this is a unbiased approach. This isn't someone who is has a dog in the fight. He doesn't even, pretty much agree with the doctrinal views of Israel or the Israelites, but he looks at it from a different perspective and an angle. And watch the things that he says, okay? Watch the things that he says. Shalom to all the brothers, the elders, mores, the deacons. Shalom to all of you who are part of BOOM. All right. Now let's look, and all the family of Israel and Christians who are tuning in, who've been supportive of the ministry. All right. So let's look at it.
So lib, straight from the headlines. Okay, this is Richard, the Democratic Socialist Libertarian, coming at you. And the story I'd like to cover today was kind of a local story. It was in the New York, New Jersey area, Jersey City, to be specific, in New Jersey. And it involves what looks like a potential domestic terrorist attack. What had happened was there was a police officer killed. There might be somebody else who was killed related to this, and there was a kosher, like I guess, deli / small supermarket that was shot up, and there was, I think, three people killed there. A reprehensible attack and a terrible crime. But what happened was, right off the bat, or right away, the headlines started saying this was a domestic terrorist attack perpetrated by a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites. And for those of you who aren't familiar with them, you might, I'll get into it. You run into them sometimes if you live in New York. They're a group of African American men primarily, I guess, but African Americans who say they are the true Israelites, Hebrews of the Bible, and that the Jewish people who make that claim today are imposters. They're the real deal. Tribe of, well, I guess the lost tribe of Israel.
Now I want to pause it right here. Now, of course, he's not an African American, so we know we're going to get it from a different perspective. But I also want y'all to pay attention to, he said, if you live here, which means he is a resident of New York or New Jersey in the area, so he's used to dealing with, seeing, and coming in contact with Hebrew Israelites. So I want y'all to pay attention to what he's saying. This isn't somebody that is looking online, somebody that Googled, or somebody listening to hearsay about what other people think or what other people have experienced with dealing with people, maybe online, or dealing with some radicals, or dealing with whoever. Listen to what he says because he is from the area and he's used to dealing with Israelites in New York City.
And they're pretty confrontational, not necessarily in a violent way.
Listen to what he said. Let me run it back.
I guess the lost tribe of Israel. And they're pretty confrontational, not necessarily in a violent way.
He said the Israelites in New York, they're confrontational, but not in a violent way. Now, this is what he says, based off his experience. They're confrontational, but not in a violent way.
Their technique is they'll get a booth and they'll kind of antagonize people with a bullhorn. They'll get into it, so they film it on YouTube, and that's their routine. I mean, they're operating within the laws. They're using it.
Wait a minute. What he says? What did he say? They are operating within the laws, meaning they're not breaking any laws. They are following the laws of the land, which means they are not violent. They aren't doing anything to break the law. They're not breaking, you can get into, them, whether or not they following Torah the right way or anything of that nature. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about, are they breaking the law? Are they violating the laws of the land? Are they violating New Jersey laws? Are they violating New York City laws? Absolutely no. The most they'll do is get a bullhorn and yell at people and that type of thing. But they're operating within the parameters of the law.
First Amendment freedom of speech, but to some people it could be off-putting. I'll get into my interactions with them, but certainly not a terrorist organization.
Wait a minute. He says certainly not a terrorist organization. This is a white man. But yet we got black folks running around here, predominantly black people, many, not all, within the Christian community are saying that all Israelites are violent and promote violence and teach violence. But this white guy says, hey, from what I've experienced dealing with them, living here in the city, they're following the law. They aren't breaking any law. They're practicing their amendment right of freedom of speech. They are working within the parameters of the law. But yet you got black folks out here simply saying that all Israelites are all, now they have a term for us, those who are not a part of a camp. The term is moderate. They created a byword for us to distinguish us from the camps. Well, you might as well call us the camp too. If you say that we teach the same thing, we promote the same ideology, we promote violence and push violence, don't separate us and then turn around and throw us in the same barrel again. This is why it's very important for us to broaden our scope. Because why? Because at the end of the day, if you depend on religious folks to defend you, you got another thing coming. Religious folks was the one who simply said, give us Barabbas and crucify Hamashiach. Religious folks was the one say, crucify him. When the non-religious folks simply said, hey, I had a dream about this man, and this man is innocent. The non-religious folks said, I find no fault in this man. Why do you want me to put him to death? I find no fault in him. We know Barabbas committed a crime. He broke the crime. Because Barabbas is a stone-cold lawbreaker of the Roman government, of the laws of the land. And yet the religious folks scream, crucify an innocent man. And the non-religious folks are the ones who said they're innocent. If you continue to walk in this walk and you think religious folk are going to be the main ones to defend you or going to be the main ones to speak out and say that you're innocent, you are absolutely fooling yourselves. You are absolutely fooling yourselves. Oftentimes, it's the non-religious people are the ones who says, hey, set that brother free. He's did nothing wrong. Oftentimes, the non-religious people will be the main ones to bail you out of jail, while the religious folks simply sitting up there saying that you done broke every law, but they can't prove nothing.
Might not agree with their viewpoint. You may find, you may not like that they can be confrontational, but certainly not terrorists.
Certainly, you may not agree with their doctrine. Here's the thing. This is the question that I have for many of these folks out here who are trying to say all Israelites are the same. You don't say all Jewish Israelis are the same. You don't say all Christians are the same. You don't say all Christians are the same. You don't say all Jewish Israelis are the same, but you want to say all Israelites are the same. You may not agree with us doctrinally, and that's your opinion. But we aren't terrorists. This man is not a religious man. He ain't speaking from a religious perspective. He's not trying to defend his sect of doctrinal beliefs. He said, I've encountered these folks, and yes, they get on your nerves. They may yell and scream. They may holler with a bullhorn, but they are operating within the parameters of the law. And y'all, we can sit up here all day long and talk about how bad white people is and how bad this and that. And the last time I checked, even throughout the scriptures, there was more white people saying somebody was innocent than it was black folks. You keep on thinking that the Most High can't work through the white man. You keep thinking that if you want. The last I checked, Israelites was always pursuing and trying to kill Israelites. Paul is on trial because his own people are lying on him for teaching a doctrine that they call heresy. You got the procurator and his wife both saying that Hamashiach is innocent. And you got the Israelites running around here talking about his blood, let his blood be on us and our children. But y'all looking for black folks to defend y'all. Keep it up.
And what happened was, as the story unfolded later, this comes from NBC News. This is from the New Jersey State Attorney General. And what he said was that the people there was two people who perpetrated this crime in New York. And I'm assuming it was not a false flag.
Wait a minute, hold on. Listen, I want y'all to listen to this. He says, I'm assuming that it's not a false flag. Now, when black folks say, oh, that could be a false flag, you know the first thing they do? They want to get highly upset with us. They want to get highly upset because black folks will say something is a false flag. White folks say false flags all the time. I want y'all to pay attention to that. White folks always talking about something is a false flag. Black folks didn't come up with the idea of false flags. I don't know why we sit up here acting like black folks were the one invented this false flag stuff. You know why, folks? You know why many white people say that there's false flags and they came up with this understanding? Because white people run the country. And white people have relatives and family members that are a part of these governments, and they know when it's a false flag. So it ain't strange that this white brother said, oh, I'm assuming that this is not a false flag. I'm assuming. Because when it comes down to dealing with the government and this type of stuff, it's not unusual for it to be a false flag. That's exactly what he's trying to say. Or that's what he is saying.
This crime in New York. And I'm assuming it was not a false flag. These days, you never know. The ruling elites perpetrate so many false flags, whether it's the false flag gas attacks in Syria, 9/11. You just don't know these days. And so you can never say for sure. I'm going under the assumption this was an organic attack. Okay, these two people were not prompted or by anybody. A man and a woman. And what happened was the New Jersey, like I said, the New Jersey Attorney General said the black Hebrew Israelites had no connection to this attack.
Wait a minute. He's quoting from the New York City Attorney General. The Attorney General, which is on record, saying, based off their investigation, they have not found any correlation or connection to the Hebrew Israelites with this situation. But yet you got some folks running around here talking about the Bruce did it. The brother just simply said, I'm assuming it's not a false flag, which means that if there possibility, he named 9/11, he started naming all kinds of stuff, which tells us that it could be some agents involved with this madness. That is unfortunate that people lost their lives. But we don't know that the people who are trying to lump all of the Bruce together and trying to push this narrative that the Bruce is the one did it and was behind it, we don't know if they are governmental agents. They could be governmental agents. And this is what I say. Here's what I say. Until we prove that they not, put them over there in the governmental agent box, which tells us don't deal with these people. Don't have no conversation with them. I don't care what kind of responses they give, what kind of videos they do on you. I don't care. Do not feed into these folks because we don't know if they're agents posing as Christians or agents posing as any other religion. And we're going to get into that here in a minute because it's some agents also probably posing as Israelites. So don't get it twisted. Until we find out if these folks are true or not, they might be agents. And if it looked like an agent, if it walked like an agent, if it talked like an agent, it's an agent. One thing you cannot do. Yes, we have the Ruach, we have the Holy Spirit. But don't lose your common sense when you come into this thing. Don't throw away your common sense. Don't throw away your street knowledge or your street sense. Those of us who came from the streets, don't throw away your street game or your street understanding about ways things operate. You allow the Holy Spirit and the Ruach to give you wisdom and guidance, but don't get it twisted. Sometimes you better use some common sense in this thing, dealing with these folks. Sometimes common sense will tell you, don't fool with these folks, and that the Ruach don't have to tell you. Because common sense is showing you that these folks are agents. Come on now.
What happened was these two attackers had looked at literature from the black Hebrew Israelites online, maybe one of them may have attended some meetings years ago, but there was absolutely no correlation.
Listen what the Attorney General said. The Attorney General said they looked at that these people, these two gunners, the woman and that man, they looked at some literature about Israelites, but yet the Attorney General found no connection between these folks and the Israelites, which tells you that they've done their investigative research and study and found out that there's no connection. Why? Because many of you have come in contact with Israelites. Many of you have fellowship with Israelites. Many of you have fellowship with Christians. It's just like you have the situation when Dylan Roof went into that church, who posing as a Christian, went into that church and killed all those black people. I cannot sit up here and say that every white Christian is like Dylan Roof. I can't say that. If I say that, that is irresponsible. Not only is it irresponsible, but it's spiritually immature. And it is absolutely unrighteous in judgment. And the reason being is because I've had experiences with other white Christians. So I can't say that all white Christians are the same, but I can't ignore my experience.
Between the black Hebrew Israelites and the attack, the black Hebrew Israelites denied the attack. They condemned it through their attorney. They made a public announcement. And I should also say there's many sects of the black Hebrew Israelites. So you have some that are very chilled out, and then you have some that are more militant. But even taking the most militant one, that preach the most hardcore ideologies, they were not related. They had nothing to do with this attack.
Wait, hold on. What does this white brother say? This white brother said that even the most radical Hebrew Israelite, the most radical one, he said there's some Hebrew Israelites who chilled out. They chilled out, man. They not on that. They law-abiding citizens. They loving people. They go to work. They love family. They chilled out. They ain't trying to cause no problems or be involved in any of that. But then you have also the radical, crazy ones that's out there, the most radical, intense ones, and they were even proven by the Attorney General and the investigators that they had nothing to do with this. But yet, guess what? You got people running around here saying the opposite of what they've read. These people have read these facts about this stuff in the news lines, and they still refuse to tell the truth. Which tells me I'm putting you right over there in that little file of an agent. I'm going to put you right over there. You can't say that you follow the Most High, and you love Jesus, and Jesus is your Savior, and all this other stuff, and refuse to tell a simple truth about what the investigators have deemed that the Hebrew Israelites as a whole had nothing to do with this. That these were two individuals who did a couple of little Google searches on the Israelites that wanted to be, maybe they probably went and attended a fellowship here and there or whatever the situation. Maybe they went to, it's no different if somebody come to BOOM and they come to church service maybe for a month and they don't come back. That don't make them members of BOOM. That don't make people members of because they come visit. You can't say that they came to visit BOOM and all of a sudden, and here's the thing within the Hebrew Israelite community. You'll have a person that will attend BOOM and be listening to 4 or 5 other groups. You'll have people that attend BOOM that listen to 4 or 5 other different teachers. They might listen to the radical ones, and they listening to BOOM. They listen to the service. They come to our feast days, but yet they at home because they can't get that radical Esau teaching doctrine. They can't get that at Boom, so they're gonna listen to because they believe Esau the white man and all this other stuff. So they listen to other people. And they go off and kill somebody. Boom don't teach that. But the first thing you want to do is say, well, they did go over to Boom a couple of times and visit, but that ain't what Boom teach. And when people leave, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you live on a compound or if you attend Shabbat service once a week. You don't know what people doing. So let's not act like we know what people doing all the time. Some family members, some folks that are in relationships, some married people don't even know what their spouse is doing. Their spouses go off and rob a bank and kill everybody, and the wife say, "I didn't even know he was like that. I didn't even know he was into that. People work with folks every single day and say he showed no signs of being a terrorist or a murderer or a mass murderer. He didn't show those signs." But when it comes to the assembly and the body, yet y'all want to act like we know what all these people doing all the time. Who they listening to, what television, what they looking, what they Googling and all that. We don't know all that stuff. Shoot, the Christian church don't even know what half the people doing in the church.
But even still, just because these guys had looked at the Hebrew Israelites online, the FBI raided the headquarters of the Black Hebrew Israelites in Harlem. Just did a massive Gestapo raid. And that would be like, let's say somebody perpetrated a crime or, some kind of domestic terrorist act, and they, looked at the Jehovah's Witnesses websites, or they looked at, Hare Krishnas or any group. You might not agree with their ideology. Let's even say something stronger, but the group was not advocating any violence. Just because somebody looks at your site or your material does not give the FBI the right to raid your premises without any direct evidence showing correlation other than the person reviewing your literature. It is a violation of your constitutional rights. They have to show a direct linkage, and there was none.
Wait a minute. And there was none? And there was none. There was none. Say it again one more time. Say it again one more time. But they want to make it is. They want to say that it was, yes, it was, because that's what they teach. The FBI will tell you in your face. You got the written report. The FBI told you there is no link, and you still gonna call them a liar. You still gonna call them a liar, and they telling you we ain't find nothing. You think the FBI, if you actually don't think the FBI, if they really would have found something, that they would have written a report that they didn't? But you gonna keep on saying, yes, they did. They did it. But the FBI say, no, they didn't. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. We didn't find any form of correlation to the two.
They have to show a direct linkage, and there was none. So right off the bat, I think that was unfair. Now let me speak on the Black Hebrew Israelites. Like I said, there's groups that are kind of, I think, have their own farms and they do their own thing. And then the one I'm more familiar with are the ones in New York City, because if you live here or you're visiting, you might actually encounter them. And I think whether you agree with these Black Hebrew Israelites or not, the ruling elites perceive them as a threat.
Wait a minute, listen what it says. He says whether you agree with their ideology or not, the ruling elites see the black Hebrew Israelites as a threat. As a threat. We don't own nothing. We got to borrow for everything we want. Most of us work. Most of us are mostly the top consumers in this country, so we ain't saving no money. We blowing it and spending it on everything we can get our hands on. But we a threat. Why are we a threat? Do the ruling elite view Christians as a threat? When was the last time you seen in this country, if you take black folks out of the Christian church and just leave white folks in the Christian church, when was the last time you seen any form of persecution on the Christian church in America? When was the last time you seen, outside of black folks being in the Christian church, black folk in the Christian church have been through more hell than anybody else? Than anybody else. The multicultural Christian church hasn't faced any level of persecution in America. But the black Christian church has. So why are black folks such a threat? Why are we such a threat and we don't own nothing?
And I think they use this Jersey City attack as a means to go after them. I think you're going to see more of that. And why?
Listen to what the white man said. I want y'all to listen to what this white brother said. This white brother said they use that to come after us, and you're going to see more. They use this as the springboard. This is why I'm telling y'all, and I keep telling y'all, and I keep telling y'all over and over. While you so busy studying and worried about all this other stuff, you better and worry about who Esau is and all this other stuff. You better pray. You better learn how to fall on your knees and cry out to the Most High and tell him to give you the ability to endure until the end. I keep telling y'all over and over again. When you worry about all that other stuff ain't gonna matter. While you worried about all that other stuff, that stuff not gonna matter. You better fortify your spirit, man. Because they coming. And folks gonna fall off. Your biggest, baddest, most radical Hebrew is gonna fall off. They're gonna be the ones turning you in. They're going to be the ones turning state against you. The lock turn your behind in. No different during the time of Mashiach, when you had folks turning state, siding with the Romans against your behind. No different.
Now, are the black Hebrew Israelites perceived as a threat? Now, I don't agree with the techniques they use per se, although I'll get into more of that. That's my viewpoint, and it's not my place to say what, how they should recruit people or how they should get publicity. That's up to them, and maybe it's working for them. It's not my place to say it. But whether you agree with them or not, the ruling elites don't control them.
What did he say? What did he say? The reason why black folks are such a threat is because the ruling elites can't control us. Now, those that they controlling, they don't look at some of these other folks that are black as a threat because they control them. They control them through doctrines. They control them through money. They control them through politics. So all you black folks that are controlled by religious doctrines and money and politics, you're no threat. And that's why they use you to come after us. Because you ain't no threat. You already paid and bought off. You no different than when they came to the west coast of Africa and other parts of Africa trying to enslave us, and it wouldn't work. You're no different than those the ones that they gave a couple of muskets and guns to and mirrors to hunt us down. Because they weren't strong enough, they weren't fast enough, so they used some of our own people. Yes, some of you Israelites did help them enslave us. Now you say what you want to say, but you did. We got the receipts from Israel, from the Israelites enslaving their own brother Joseph. So it has been done before. Along with the Hamites. They can't control us. That's the problem. The problem is they cannot control us. And the problem is that now that it's spreading, many of us are awakening to everlasting. Meaning that we're finding out who we are as a people, but it doesn't stop there. Now us who are awakening to who we are, now we're getting the Ruach, the Holy Spirit in us. And now we're doing the work, being effective, bringing forth a demonstration and glory to the Father and not to ourselves. We ain't worried about who Esau is and all this other stuff. We preaching the gospel with signs and wonders by the power of the Ruach that is in us. While the others, they're out here talking all kind of crazy, acting all kind of crazy. They can't control it. And this is why they're putting pressure on some of the other leaders to come after us. I thought y'all had this under control. Well, if we let them alone, listen, here it is. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Listen to this. If we let them, quote unquote, moderates alone, then the Romans are going to find out, the powers that be are going to find out, and they're going to come and take our place away. The same thing they did to Hamashiach. Same thing they did to Christ. If we leave him alone, we know that he's innocent. We know he did nothing. But if we leave him alone, the people are going to believe. And the Romans are going to find out and come take our place. So they're more worried about their place and their position because they bought off and controlled than they are the truth. And that's what we got today. But we can't leave them quote unquote moderates alone. We got to throw them in the bunch too. Because the people hear them, they're going to believe on Christ. And they're going to stop living wicked. They're going to stop homosexuality. They're going to stop living all kind of foul. They're going to stop stealing and all that kind of stuff. If they come in contact with them Israelites right there with that Holy Spirit, with that Ruach, if they come in contact with them, they're going to sure enough really walk this thing the way it need to be walked. We can't allow that. That's why I keep telling y'all, don't worry about them folks. Keep doing the work. Because guess what? They have a job to do, and you got a job to do too. Your job is to do the work of the kingdom. Their job is to do the work of who they're indebted to. We're indebted to Christ. They're indebted to their system.
And any time the ruling elites encounter a black rights group or a group that is not controlled by the corporatist or the globalist, they do one of two things. Either they buy it, and we saw that in the case of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was started out as a grassroots organization that was opposed to police violence against African Americans. And they started to gain some traction. Right away, George Soros got into it with the corporate Democrats and started inviting them to their meetings, their locations. They started giving them money. And then on top of that, the Ford Foundation, a very evil group, bought Black Lives Matter for $100 million.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. I think y'all listen to this. I want y'all to hear this information here coming from this white brother right here. Listen to what he said. If they can't control it, if it gets out of, which is going to get out of control, ain't nobody going to stop this. I don't care who you are. Because the Most High plan is so profound. You looking for one group to look a certain kind of way, and the Most High over here raising up another group that don't look nothing like that group. Oh, it's already out of control, but it's gonna get even more out of control, meaning wildfire level out of control. And the first thing they're gonna try to do when they can't stop it, here come the 30 pieces of silver. Here comes the 30 pieces of silver. Which brings me to my point. There are agents over in the Christian community. But when the powers that be buy or try to buy the movement, they have agents in the Hebrew community. This is where it's going to require you to have 1 Corinthians 12 discernment. This is what the prayer and the fasting needs to be about. Because you cannot determine who is who by dress code, by what they saying, by how they looking, by ideology and doctrine. You better make sure that you pray for another level of discernment, and you better make sure that you're able to recognize who is who by the fruits of the Spirit. I'm telling y'all right now, it's a whole lot of people within this Hebrew awakening that's going to get bought off. And when they buy you off, they already ain't got the Ruach. So if they ain't got the Ruach, they already a turn. And next thing you know, you're going to start seeing more and more murders, more and more people going to jail, more and more people getting hunted down by their own or so-called Hebrew Israelites. But they bought off. They indebted to Caesar. So don't just think it's agents in the Christian community. You got agents in the Hebrew community too. So which brings us to this point. If it's agents in both communities, then the only person that you can trust is the Most High. The same ones at the feast days with you will be the same ones that turn you in. The same ones that's at the Shabbat service with you will be the main ones that'll kill you. All because you let your guard down because you think, because they claim brew, that they following Torah. When in actuality, they don't have no Ruach. And when you don't have no Ruach, you make room for the enemy to inhabit you.
Not 10 million, 100 million. Because the ruling elites, anytime they see a group of black people, who are not owned by the system and starting to create an organization that's taking off, they want to control it. And so in the case of Black Lives Matter, they were bought. Now, if they cannot buy that African American organization, so if option A doesn't work, then they destroy it. And the greatest classic example of that is the Black Panther movement. The ruling elites were terrified of the Black Panthers. They were starting to create breakfast programs for the inner cities. They wanted to exercise their constitutional right to keep and bear arms. You see a lot of the famous pictures of them marching with their weapons. This upset the ruling elites greatly. The leadership was imprisoned, exiled, or assassinated. You also saw this with, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, other black leadership, groups or black groups that couldn't be bribed. So it's either buy them or bury them. And in the case of the black Hebrew Israelites, like I said, you may not agree with their message, but they are an independent organization. They are a fellowship. They have their own ideology. And the ruling elites, this makes the ruling elites nervous because if a black organization is not controlled like the NAACP or many of the black churches that are owned by the...
Wait a minute, listen to what he said. I'm going to run this back. Y'all got to hear this. I'm going to run this back.
Nervous because if a black organization is not controlled like the NAACP or many of the black churches that are owned by the corporate Democrats, you remember all these black preachers telling their congregations, vote for Hillary, vote for Obama, all owned.
Wait a minute, I didn't say that. You didn't hear that from me. So for any of you black Christians out there, why don't you do a debunk video on him? I done gave you about 4 videos of 4 different white folks, white people, Jewish people. I done gave you at least 4 videos on just ordinary white folks and some Jewish folks that are saying this type of stuff. Why don't you do some debunk videos on them? Why don't you call them up? Why don't you call them out? Why don't you do that? Don't just come for the Hebrews. When you got white people out here saying the same thing, if not worse, because most of our information come from white people. So I'm going to put it back on y'all. Most of our information, whether it's books, literature, it's been more white people that tell us we the children of Israel than black folks. It's been more white people that have done video on YouTube telling us who we are as a people and have woken up more black people to being Israelites than black folks. But I don't see y'all doing no debunk videos on them. I don't see y'all calling them out and asking them to come on your shows and all that. I don't see none of that. Let's not be respecters of persons here. Why don't y'all get in contact with this white man and some of the Jewish white guys that I'm in relationship with, that I talk to? Why don't y'all do videos on them? Ask them to come on your platform and so they can tell you to your face who we are. Why don't you do that? But you're not going to do that. Because one thing you know and one thing you understand and one thing that you believe, that white is right. And if you believe that white is right, you don't want another white man to come on your platform and tell you the same thing that we've been saying because we got it from them. That's why I get the tripping on these comedic folks talking about something. Oh, the Bible ain't real and all that. The Bible is the white man book and all the books y'all got is white man book. And all of the information that the comedic brothers have in all their books, every book that they tell you to go read is by a white man. But they want to say that the Bible is a white man book. They want to say we follow the white man. Because why? Everybody get their information, every religion, it comes from white folks. All of this stuff comes from white folks.
And so this independent group is not owned. And that's why they've been marked for destruction. I believe you will see further attacks against them.
I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to end it this because this is just part one. Part two is coming again. I think I got like a 3-part series to this thing. And I'm going to get you some more white folks that are speaking out. See, they ain't going to talk about these white people. They ain't going to talk about these white people. They not going to talk about these white people. They not going to bring these white people up. They not going to mention them at all. They're not going to tell you to go watch their videos. They're not going to do it. They're not going to give them the publicity because it don't fit their narrative that they're trying to push about us. Just admit something that you've been feeling all this whole time. That for some reason, you're afraid of black folk. You act like we own tanks and rocket launchers and machine guns, nuclear weapons, and we don't own none of that. The most you're going to get out of us is yelling and a bullhorn, and that's it. That's all the Brew's doing. Yelling and a bullhorn, and that's it. But you want to make it out like we run around here blowing up cities. This stuff is sheer madness. It's utter madness, man. And it's a shame that people can't be honest. Like the brother said, you may not agree with their ideology, but they're not a terrorist group. You might have some yelling, acting a fool, cussing, and saying all kind of stuff, but you don't see us out here acting a fool. You don't see us out here just killing people. You don't see us do. There has been not one Israelite that has done the level of things that we see in the history that's been done in this country against black people. Not one. And that doesn't justify black on black crime. That doesn't justify the crime that these two people did against innocent people. That doesn't justify that. But the facts remain. You're not going to try to sit up here and act like, oh, all of the Israelites is just this terrorist organization and that we right here, like we strapping bombs to us and blowing us up and suicide bombing and all that. Come on, man. We let's stop this stuff, man. Let's stop this. So I'm going to end it right there, man. I love all y'all with the love of Mashiach, man. I love all y'all with the love of Christ. Y'all be blessed, man. This is part 1. I'm going to end up doing part 2. YouTube banned me from, YouTube banned me for a week because of the video that I posted up, which was by Jewish rabbis and politicians and other white people, and also the little video from Idi Amin. But I mean, it was mostly white people. They was just telling the truth. But of course, they flagged me and said that I was that the net video that I uploaded was violating their policy against protected groups. Now they have protected groups like endangered species. I mean, come on, man. But ain't nobody trying to protect. See, this is what I'm saying, man. I can't. This stuff is crazy. But anyway, y'all, don't forget, man, to go over to BitTube, /BoomChurch. Subscribe over there, man. To BitTube, man. I got my videos over. My videos are going over there. That is a uncensored website where you can put up. It's just like YouTube. You can subscribe. You can do all that stuff. You can share it. You can like it. You can leave a comment and all that good stuff. And it's uncensored. I can upload whatever I want to over there without the censorship. So that's where I'm at. I'll be on YouTube as well, but most of all the stuff is getting posted up there. All right. Shalom to you all.